day after the King's diagnosis was made public, His Majesty has gone to Sandringham after a much-anticipated visit from the Duke of Sussex at Buckingham Palace, perhaps even Clarence House. And the King went from Buckingham Palace then by helicopter to Sandringham. And as you probably know, it's a peculiar coincidence that today is the anniversary of Queen Elizabeth's accession after the King's grandfather, King George VI, died 72 years ago at Sandringham from cancer at the age of 56. So if we come on to the visit of the Duke of Sussex, is this an opportunity for reconciliation? And does the slimmed-down royal family need to be fattened up a bit? Well, I'm joined now by the royal biographer, Angela Levin. Angela, we keep on meeting like this, and it's always a pleasure. But the slimmed-down royal family doesn't have a lot of resources. Wouldn't it be a good thing if the Duke of Sussex came back and carried out royal duties?
Yeah, but that's a very nice sentence to hear, but to put it into action, I think, is very, very difficult indeed. Harry doesn't like to compromise anymore. He used to years ago. He doesn't like to do that. He's determined to get apologies from his father for not treating he felt properly or giving him enough backbone. And also, Meghan would be absolutely furious if he started becoming very sweet and nice with his family, because she's a destroyer. She's not somebody who makes things up. So it's, I think it sounds lovely, but I don't think that's at all possible. And I think as well that the fact that he only stayed for about 30 minutes with his father and Camilla, who I'm absolutely sure stayed with them because she has done in the past when he's come, bludgering in. I think it shows you that they're going to carry on in their own way and not get upset or feel uncomfortable with him.
But when you're visiting somebody who isn't well, you don't necessarily want to overstay your welcome. Doesn't half an hour seem about the right length of visit to somebody who is undergoing serious treatment?
Yes, you're right again then. But, however, when Harry has come over in the last 3 years, which hasn't been often, would drop everything, including his father, so he could see him for as long as he wanted to get these apologies. And I imagine that if he tried to do that, they shut it down. I think he could have been there longer, quieter, but not made any demands. But he's full of demands. And I think that they actually flew off in a helicopter. They could have made that later because he's in no hurry at the moment. The King is in no hurry. And I just think you have to realise how Harry has changed and what a very difficult man he now is.
Isn't the gesture of coming all the way from California, which is a long old way away, going through several time zones, rather impressive? Shows a proper sense of filial piety.
It depends which way you look at it, isn't it? There could be something that he heard about his father, dashed to be here to look after him or be kind, or it's because to show everyone in America that he's very nice and get his popularity moved up because it's very low at the moment.
All right. Well, thank you, Angela. We may talk again tomorrow. Still with me is my panel, barrister and former Tory MP Jerry Hayes and the broadcast journalist Matthew Stadland. Matthew, don't you think everyone would be quite pleased if they had Prince Harry back and that you could extend the royal family again and have more royal duties carried out?
Those who care about the royal family, I'm sure would be, I hope would be. I would be in a very loose sense, but I'm not sure this is really the time to be picking over the bones of that relationship. Mm-hmm. And let's hope there is flesh on the bones. My thoughts are actually with the King and with Camilla and also with Harry and William, because this is a really upsetting and difficult time. We all hope that the prognosis is good. But, this is a man who has been waiting for that moment to be king for decade after decade. He was doing a lot of useful things, I would argue, during that time. He's only been king now for a year and a quarter. He was only crowned a few months ago, and suddenly he's hit with this diagnosis. So I think the majority of people won't be so worried about what's happening between him and his son. They'll wish them well.
They'll wish them well.
Yeah, they'll wish them well. But above all, they want the king to recover.
And I agree with that completely.
So do I. This is about a father and a son. This is about forgiveness. This is about atonement. This is probably about unfinished business. We don't know how serious it is. But the mere fact that he came over, I think Angela was a little unkind to suggest that it was a publicity stunt. He loves his father. Obviously, they've fallen out for all sorts of reasons.
Matthew's point absolutely right, that we also want the king to do well because of the long wait he had to become king, and that he's got it, he should enjoy it.
We
He's
both know
entitled
him.
to enjoy it.
He's a good man.
Well, I wouldn't claim to know him. I've had the honour of meeting him, but I wouldn't
meet him a few times.
But also we see ourselves in him. You know, one of the functions, I think, of a monarchy, and this goes back to the ancient Greeks, to the tragedies, to Shakespeare as well. You know, if the king or the monarch, the ruler was destabilised, if something happened, the state became unstable. That's no longer the case here. We are a fully fledged democracy. But I think we see a bit of ourselves reflected, whether that might be the squabbles that sometimes break out, that we sometimes get tidbits about, but more fundamentally about how they act as a monarch. And when they get a diagnosis like this, there isn't a family up and down our great land who cannot relate on some level, because we've all been touched by cancer, whether it's in our family or amongst our friends. And I think the fact that the king has been so open about this is really helpful.
It's groundbreaking, actually.
Yes.
Groundbreaking.
As always, God save the king, and thank you to my panel.